The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. We are going to take maybe 1 or 2 more minutes just to make sure everyone can get on before we begin. Okay, welcome, everyone. This is the Real Food Movement is Here Food Day webinar. My name is Kate Klein. I am the National Campus Food Day Coordinator. And what that means is that I'm here to give campus organizers all the resources and support necessary to put on a successful food day event. So that can be anything from email updates to webinars like this one to how-to guides and things like that. Additionally, I also ensure that if anyone at the college or university wants to carry on the mission of Food Day, like kind of throughout the whole year, that they're connected to an appropriate Real Food Challenge resources. And I'll dig into a little bit more of what Real Food Challenge is in just a second. But right now, I am going to pass it over to Nicole McCann, who is a project coordinator at Food Day, and she's going to go over some details about how to use GoToMeeting. So go for it.
Hello, everyone. As Kate said, my name is Nicole. I'm with the National Office for Food Day in DC. I'm just going to tell you how to use the GoToMeeting webinar series system. You'll see a little box on your utility screen, and type any questions into the chat box, and they will be addressed at the end of the at the end of the session or end of the call. You can also type your name and where you're from into the chat box to practice. During the Q&A, you may also press the raise hand icon on your dashboard, and we will unmute you to speak. And just so you know, the webinar will be recorded, and the link to the recording and archive will be sent to the registrants within a week. And I'm going to pass it on back to Kate.
Cool. Thanks, Nicole. So I think next I'm going to just go over the agenda of the call, so this webinar. So it's going to last about 1 hour. And first we're going to hear back from Nicole about a Food Day campaign update. And then I'm going to dig in a little bit more about what Real Food Challenge is. And then I am going to tell a bit more about kind of like the theme of this webinar, the Real Food Movement is Here, and kind of how you can participate. Next, I will dig into some of the recruitment and leadership development tips that you can use along the way to kind of like develop your group leading up to Food Day. And we will also talk, or then our panelist will talk about her events. She's a student at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, and she'll introduce herself later, and also some event ideas you can do starting now. So next steps you can take immediately after that, and then we'll have about 15 to 20 minutes for a Q&A session for me, Nicole, and the student panelists from UW-Madison. So that's where we are. And then now Nicole is going to give you some campaign updates from like the national scale Food Day outside of campuses.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Kate. There's a lot of exciting things going on the national level. One of our biggest press releases that we sent out last week was that the singer Jack Johnson will be using his fall tour to advocate for Food Day. So his tour is in all across the country. You can go to allatOnce.org to find out information about how you can get involved and where he'll be located. You can also check out the press release on the CSPI website. And yeah, so we're excited about that. We also have the Get Food Education in Every School campaign. And we have hundreds of classes already signed up to participate in the campaign. And thousands of teachers across the country will be getting their kids involved in the process. We also have a really big event in New York City called the New York City Big Apple Crunch. They're planning to set a record with 1 million crunchers, which will be the most in the country. And that's going to be taking place on October 24th. And that's going to be planned by New York State and Grow NYC. You can see the link at the bottom of your screen where you can go to get more information about the New York City Big Apple Crunch. We also have a couple other really big events happening across the country. One will be in Chicago at Cayley Plaza, and there will be thousands of people at that event. We're also going to have Massachusetts Department of Agriculture is planning to get 1,000 events this year across the state, which will almost double what they did last year. And we just want to encourage everyone to register their events on the map. We hope to have at least 3,200 events in all 50 states. And if you go to foodday.org/host_event, which you can see on your screen, you can post your events, register your events. And if you register by September 24th, then you will have access to printed Food Day collateral, which we will send to you. And make sure to mark on the order form that you'll receive with your confirmation that it's a campus event, and you'll have special Real Food Challenge collateral for that. And I just want to make a really quick comment about looking forward and looking for funding for resources. It may be a little too late at the moment for funding. However, while you're planning this year, you can think about next year. And we know that enthusiasm and interest can drive a local Food Day coalition, but only so far. So we should work with your coalition partners and their networks to raise money, organize a benefit, or donate supplies, space, or equipment. And funds may be available through your college departments, student government, and administration offices. So try raising money at area farmers markets or asking local businesses to use support for resources. You could also print your own Food Day program or newsletter and offer advertising space for local businesses. So these are a couple of areas to think about for next year for securing funding for your events, because I know that that's a question that I've been asked quite a bit over the past couple of months. So that's it for the National Office Food Day update. I'm going to pass it back over to Kate to go through the Real Food Challenge update. And I'm just going to pass that over to you now, Kate, and you can take it away.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. So now that we've seen kind of like the national scale of what's happening and how huge Food Day is going to be, I want to zoom back into college campuses and what's going on with student food movements across the country. And one of those is Real Food Challenge. And so basically, the Real Food Challenge is an organization with a campaign to shift 20% of college and university food service purchasing by 2020, and that amounts to about $1 billion. And if you've seen any taglines around the Food Day website or in materials or anything, one of the big lines is that Food Day is a nationwide celebration of healthy, affordable, and sustainably produced food, and a grassroots campaign for better food policies. And I see Real Food Challenge as a way for students to take the passion they have for changing food policy in this country to do it on their campuses. And so Real Food Challenge is this campaign, and it's also a network. So We host regional trainings where you can learn leadership and organizing skills, also a national summit, and various other things like that across the year to really help students who want to make change, make connections with other students, and troubleshoot together and gain these valuable skills. And the idea here is that if we can actually shift this money on our college campuses by students who really care about doing this, that we can actually catalyze transformation of the larger food system. And so far, we have had 17 schools sign on to the Real Food Challenge campus commitment, which commits the school to at least 20% sustainable and just food, among other things. And that amounts, at this point, to about, or it's just over $50 million. And the photo to the right you see here is over at Oberlin College, who committed in March 2013 to 40% real food. And this is Real Food Challenge and Food Day decided to well, we should partner to bring Food Day to campuses because it obviously makes so much sense. To document the work that the student food movement is doing across the country, I want to transition into the Real Food Movement is Here photo action that's happening leading up to and on Food Day. So, although there's lots of exciting things happening that we see leading up to Food Day, these thousands of events planned celebrating sustainable and just food and how cool that is, there is still this overarching conversation that conventional agribusiness is dominating. We have GMOs that still aren't being labeled, these new high-stakes free trade agreements that are threatening the protection of our environment and food safety, and this very imminent threat of climate change that's being contributed to in part by these greenhouse gases emitted by conventional agriculture. And yet, in each of our communities, we know that there are very real places and very real people who are building a real food alternative and a real food economy. In Chicago, for example, a new fresh food program for public schools is going to funnel millions of dollars to local and organic farms. And farm workers in Florida have won increased wages and workplace protections with the support of major produce buyers. So these are countless stories we could tell, and a lot of people haven't heard them yet. So this Food Day, the idea is to reclaim the narrative about food and agriculture by broadcasting our own stories about the change happening on our campuses and in our communities. And it's really just an opportunity to showcase the impact of the work students are doing on their campuses and the impact it's happening within their communities as well. And so the photo to the right here is actually Student Farm Worker Alliance in Immokalee, Florida. And so they're, we'll dig in a little bit more about how to actually do this thing. But the full guide exists at this short link, bit.ly/RFM guide. And I will also say these, or show you a slide with all these links later. But if you want to look at it now or just write it down now, there is the official guide to this photo action. And so just the vision here is that we can just have these visual stories paired with a quote of what's happening across the country, and to just be able to tell those stories leading up to and on Food Day. So here's an example of a submission that could be submitted. So this is the Food Systems Working Group at the University of Vermont. The Food Systems Working Group is the implementation body of the Real Food Campus commitment. So that just means that they set goals and a timeline and benchmarks to actually reach a 20% real food commitment by 2020 and beyond. So the submission, we have the photo, and then it also has to include the Real Food Movement is Here on a banner like it is here on pieces of paper, or it can be whatever you want it to be. The at UVM, that part is optional. And then so the photo with the written statement, and then it has to be paired with the Real Food Movement is Here. So interestingly enough, no one has reserved a hashtag so long, so that one is totally clear and open. So it has to include the Real Food Movement is Here at UVM, and then the story or quote to pair with why that's the case. So the Real Food Movement is Here at UVM, where a working group of students and administrators are working to implement a real food purchasing policy. And then what you can do is upload it to Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and you just have to, I believe, make the post on Facebook public in order for me to find it. And actually the ones that we, the most interesting story plus photo pairing will be selected and like featured in Real Food Challenge communications. So that's something interesting to look forward to. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit to some tips on how to utilize some things in the food day planning process to help build your group space, as well as develop leadership in your planning team. So I think one of the best ways to so if you're maybe a leader in a student organization or just like involved in a student organization and really feel like you need some more people and you know those people are out there, is a table on the day of your biggest food day event. And so therefore you can kind of make an ask to people you are talking to. So for example, you would say like, hey, did you know that today's food day? Yeah, it's this huge event with thousands of events across the country. And my organization is hosting an official event. We're having a fair from today from 12 to 4 on Myers Quad, and then making an ask, like, will you be able to make it? And then not only does that get like kind of like people out to your event if you're saying, oh, come in an hour, but also then you can ask them kind of further questions. And you can say, well, actually, that's awesome that you're going to be able to make it. Do you think you'd be able to sign our petition to support our campaign? And so what I have to the left here is, so this is a part of a petition from UGA Food Service, or excuse me, from the University of Georgia. There's a Real Food Challenge branch there. And this is their petition. And I think it's really great because not only does it have like the actual content of the petition in every like little square on the page, but also there's an opportunity for writing down your email, your phone number, and if you're interested in helping out with the campaign. And so I think that's really great because not only do you get petition signatures, but you also have people's contact information and if they're interested in helping out. And you can actually follow up with those people. So additionally, not only so you can table on the day of your food day event and say, hey, come out now, come out tonight, and then get their contact information. And also, if you have some sort of like maybe a more like settled event, like a speaker or a film screening, you can have a sign-in sheet at the event and where you ask for contact information as well. So having a sheet passed around or at the entry or something like that. And the most important thing here is to actually follow up with these people. If they leave their phone number, call them up. I think for me personally, the most effective way was when someone called me and asked if I would come to a meeting or asked if I would come to an event. So actually call people up, email them, and invite them to your next meeting or your next event. Or if it's like your food day event is next week, invite them to that. So, and now I'm going to switch over to, oh, it looks like we lost our title. I don't know what happened. So leadership development is, I think, well, that's what to say up there. I think as I kind of grew as a leader, I used to work on a Real Food Challenge campaign on my campus. The most valuable experience for me was when I could tell that someone wanted to build a relationship with me and learn about like my skills and my interests. And in that way, you can really learn about what someone is interested in doing and what someone has energy around. So for example, you could ask your food day planning teammates what they're interested in doing. So perhaps someone really likes talking to people, having them work on recruitment. Maybe someone likes doing back-end stuff like securing logistics. Maybe someone likes, actually really likes public speaking, likes being the face of an organization or something like that. And also another question to ask is maybe what they would like to learn more about. So maybe someone is really interested in learning how to write a press release or forming partnerships with other departments and clubs to make a bigger event. Or maybe they want to learn more about securing food donations, things like that. And so together then you can decide on these like more meaningful tasks that people might have more energy around and feel like very inclined to pursue. And the second part of this kind of like process, I think, is really ensuring that these people feel supported to follow through with this task. So not only do they want to do them, but they feel like they know how, and they feel like they can ask for advice for someone that does know how to do it. So this could be something like having someone who knows how to write press releases and coaching a person who wants to learn how. It could be a food donation letter example, and just kind of assigning kind of coaches sort of to people who want to learn new skills. And then lastly, I think the last part of this process is just ensuring accountability through maybe weekly meetings or whatever works for your team. So making sure tasks are actually followed through with. And if they're not, then asking how can you support those people to actually do those tasks if they just need some help or some guidance. So now we are going to transition and hear from a student who is at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Her name is Paige Kelly, and she is a member of, let's go to that slide, FH King and Slow Food at UW-Madison, and she's going to detail her plans for their food week. They're doing a whole week of events, what they're doing for the photo action, and what food day events you could do that are part of their food week starting now. So, Paige, if you'd like to go for it.
Hi. So thanks, Kate. And yeah, so I'm from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'm just going to do a brief overview of some of my events and then some advice for you guys based on what I've learned from planning my events. So just to begin, I guess when I started planning and thinking about doing a Food Week event, as you can see, I decided to go for a 5-day thing. I kind of, was swayed by my affiliation with different organizations. So as Kate mentioned, I'm involved with FH King, which is the Sustainable Agriculture Group on campus, and we have a 2-acre farm that's solely run by students, and every week we give out free produce, and additionally we offer programs such as workshops, lectures, and film screening. And then on top of that, I'm also affiliated with Slow Food UW-Madison, which is one of the largest, I think the largest Slow Food chapter, campus chapter in the United States. And we have a host of projects from weekly meals to working with the Boys and Girls Club in South Madison. That's a food insecure area. So really when I started thinking about working on a Food Week event, it was really motivated by the desire to create more recognition for the things that Slow Food and FH King are both doing. So despite the popularity of some of the events that Slow Food puts on, such as our weekly cafe that gets about 250 people in a 2.5-hour span, we're still a campus of 42,000 people. And so trying to increase our recognition on campus about food issues and really reaching out to a majority of people who don't even think about what they're eating and trying to educate them. So when I started planning, it was really, I saw it as an opportunity to represent both organizations I'm affiliated with, but also issues of the food system as a whole. And so the best way to do that, I think, is to offer a variety of events that appeal to many different students, all incorporating food as a main factor because everyone loves eating. But then again, as Kate mentioned, with the Real Food Challenge, using Food Week as kind of a vehicle to launch the Real Food Challenge on my campus and get more awareness for that. So with that said, I'm going to spend some time just going through the actual individual events that I've planned during that week. So on Monday, as you can see, that's October 21st, we're going to be doing a family dinner night. So this is an event that's already hosted by Slow Food UW every week, and usually have a local celebrity chef come in and host that meal. It's always $5 for everyone who attends. So we're sticking with that standard, but we're going to try to get a little bit more of a big name chef in so that we can have a larger attendance number. And then on top of that, we're going to extend the event and include a panel discussion. So we're going to have panelists such as local farmers, We're going to have someone from the Wisconsin Food Hub, which is the largest farmers cooperative that's just been formed in Wisconsin. We're also going to have Axel Adams, who is our garden director at FH King, but really just offering a variety of panelists to discuss as a whole what it would mean for the UW to invest greater resources towards real food. So we're going to begin the night with just a brief, like 5 minutes for each panelist to discuss their food story. So how they got involved with the food system area that they are involved in, and then what food means to them. And then after we serve dinner, open up the panel to a question and answer, and really just initiate a dialogue about more real food on UW campus, and just allow for some conversation to flow from the people who are attending the dinner and then from the panelists who are obviously experts in different ways about local food in Madison and also just sourcing for a university. So that's our Monday event. And then on Tuesday, pretty straightforward. We're going to be working with our union directory. They have that has large theater, and doing a screening of Food Patriots. It's a film that's been recorded by a group in Chicago, and it's really focusing on a variety of issues in the food system. So one of the things that was unique about that film is that it actually features Slow Food UW, so I thought it'd be kind of cool because it hits a little bit closer to home as far as some of the issues being present in Madison, even though we have a large local food movement. So that's a pretty straightforward event. Then on Wednesday, again, we're using the existing structure of Slow Food. Every week, Slow Food does a 2.5-hour cafe on Wednesdays. What's going to be unique about this event is that we're working with our University Health Services and a student organization that they've been working with. That's the Black Student Union. The Black Student Union actually approached our University Health Services and asked them to work with them on doing cooking classes because they saw that some of the food insecurity and food issues were negatively affecting the food choices that people in their community were making. So they've been working with the University Health Services doing cooking classes for healthy soul food. So we're going to do a collaborative menu with them for the cafe. So just kind of representing a diversity of issues and different organizations on campus that have a stake in the food system as well. In addition, we're going to invite some community members to do some tabling. So we have a local bakery that's called Bloom Bake Shop that we've worked with in the past, and then the Just Coffee Cooperative that we source our coffee from cafe for. So just inviting them in to table and sell their products. And then hopefully, this is our kind of reaching for it. We have an a cappella group on campus that we're hopefully going to have performing at cafe as well. So that's Wednesday. And then on actual food day, which is the Thursday, so the 24th, we're really just going to hit it hard with some big petitioning and tabling. So in that day, we're going to be tabling in the 2 largest dining halls on campus and giving out informational handouts, really getting petitions signed, and hopefully doing a photo petition. So that's going to include, some of you may have seen this already, but what I want real food because campaigns. And then also we're going to take our, as Kate mentioned, the Real Food Movement is Here photo and really ask people to take some photos and share their story about that through Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So on top of that, we're also going to be doing petitioning on Bascom Hill, which is kind of our central location on campus, maybe doing some food giveaways, but really just focusing on handing out information and getting petitions signed on that day. So that's Thursday. And then on Friday, it's the last day, so we're just going to have a big party out at the garden of FH King, kind of our harvest festival. We're going to have a local restaurant catering that and a live band. and just really enjoy food and enjoy the company of other people who care about food. So those are the planned events for the week. In addition to that, we're going to be having 3 open lecture series events. So we've asked 3 professors on campus that kind of approach the food issues from different areas. So we have a landscape architecture person, someone from the rural sociology department, and then someone from the business school. And they're going to be talking about different elements of the food system in some open lectures that will be open to anyone to attend. Yeah, so those are the events that we have planned. I guess the biggest thing that I've learned from planning the events, and the advice I would give to anyone who's trying to plan something now, is really working with the existing structure of some of the organizations. When I first started trying to plan a week event, I was overwhelmed, to say the least. But I think really working with the existing structure of Slow Food, so Family Dinner Night and the cafe are both already existing events that happen, and just working on expanding those events a little bit to make them a little bit more noticeable because it is Food Week. And then the garden party is something that we have always done for FH King, but making it emphasize on better sourcing and really opening that up to more than just our general attendees. Yeah, I would say if you're going to try to plan an event now, use the existing structure of some of the organizations that you're already involved in. I think coordinating an open lecture series is pretty straightforward and easy to do. Professors should be more than willing to give their time to educate students. And then really focusing on petitioning and tabling and giving away food is always a really easy way to get people's attention. So I think that's all I have, Kate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paige. That was really great. So, oh, well, there's the list of the events Paige was mentioning. She would like to read through them for 1 second. So open lecture series, petitioning, tabling, panel discussion, and then using the existing structure of what's already happening in organizations on campus. So I just wanted to add on a little bit and just add a few more ideas about event ideas that you could do starting now. One thought is to take your photo action photos, so the Real Food Movement is here. Those photos and the stories that are paired with them, and put them on display, blow them up. I guess you might have to use a nicer camera for them, and put them in a high trafficked area of campus. And then kind of pair that with something else like tabling or petitioning or inviting people to a speaker that night or something like that. And kind of being able to show the student population these actual stories that are happening on campus and in the community. Secondly, is recruit for a big campaign meeting or a big organization meeting. So this would mean so kind of a little bit of a rule of thumb there is people need to hear about something like an event or a big meeting 3 different ways in order for them to be well, this is a big thing, maybe I should go. Or just to remind them of it enough times. So for example, you can design posters and put them across campus while you're having a big campaign meeting. Make a Facebook event and invite a lot of people to it. And then phone bank people, so people that signed your petitions, for example, or sign into your events, and call those people up, exchange phone numbers at a meeting, and then call those people up and invite them to come. And then maybe set a goal, we want 50 people in the room for our Food Day campaign meeting. And so this photo to the right, or this kind of graphic to the right, is something called the Real Food Wheel. And in Real Food Challenge, it's a visual concept of what real food is. So it's good for all of these different parts of the entire food system. So an idea there is to blow up the Real Food Wheel or project it on a wall and get everyone talking about why they care about sustainable food and just food and how they want to make change. Another thought is doing a, maybe this could have a better name, I'm not sure, but what's that veggie thing? Cooking demos, sampling, and creating a recipe card. So the idea is taking a seasonal vegetable or seasonal fruit or whatever it may be, and kind of showcasing it on Food Day. Kind Because I know when I first started learning about like gardening and seasonal foods and stuff, that there were a few things that I was like, what is that? And so I think that would be really fascinating. I think it would be very fascinating to see one of those showcased and to like learn all about it on Food Day. And then, as Paige mentioned, do table on Food Day. Get people to come to your Food Day events. Do some petitions. I know I've been saying that a lot, but I think it's important. Another thought is to do a real food roundtable. So gather. The idea here is to gather like key student leaders, allies, activists on campus, and bring them together for a discussion about sustainable food and just food and the possibilities for food system change on your campus and in your community. And so perhaps a goal from that meeting would be to like form a coalition together, see how people across campus can work together to actually make real lasting change. So this whole idea of like policy change that I referred to way back in the beginning of the webinar. Another thing possibly you could do is premiere a switch to a real food item in the dining hall. So particularly this would be maybe more feasible if there's any like dining directors or managers on the webinar or that have heard this thought. What is the low-hanging fruit? Is there, okay. Is there anything that is like a pretty easy switch that you could get locally, that you could get organically, that you could get, you know, like a humane certified animal product, something like that. And actually like stick to that item. So it's a premiere of that item and then you actually are like, well, we're committing to it because this is what Food Day is about. Then lastly, you could host a film screening. Those are, you know, it's a matter of reserving the space to actually show it and getting the screening rights and paying for the screening rights. And so there are or should be some discounts for a couple of different documentary screenings surrounding like, you know, Food Day ideas. There will be like, I believe, a guide out soon about which ones have discounts, and some of the screening rights will actually be waived if it's a Food Day event. So look out for that coming soon. There are also possibility to investigate that right now on the Food Day website if you kind of search screening discounts type deal. So before we jump into the Q&A session, I'm going to run through some like next steps you can do right now. There we go. So big next step is to register your event by September 10th, which is tomorrow. So if you register your event on the Food Day map, and again, I will provide all these links at the very end of the webinar so you can look at them and type them and write them somewhere. So register your event by the end of the day tomorrow on the Food Day map. And if you complete a survey and indicate that you're having this event on campus, you will get some cool free Food Day and Real Food Challenge materials for your Food Day event. So you can see in this photo, this was at Duke University last year, they have a Food Day banner. And so I believe that's something that came from their pack. Also, a next step is to brainstorm some photo action ideas. So where is the real food movement happening on your campus and in your community? Where can you document that? And thinking about it very comprehensively. Also, as a note, there are actually 2 deadlines for campuses for these Food Day materials. So the first one is kind of like a priority deadline. I believe actually, okay, it looks like it might be September 12th. So I apologize. I will check in on that. And that's kind of like priority access to Food Day materials. So you get it earlier, so you can kind of plan your events around it. And then the second deadline is September 24th. So if you already know what it is, register it now. You'll get your materials way sooner. If not, you can do it by the 24th. So yeah, September 12th, so you actually have more than, you have 2 more days, 3 more days than I thought, and September 24th. Thirdly, you can call or visit. Actually, visiting, I think, is much more effective. Restaurants and businesses for donations. And I think this is still a good time. We're about 44 days out, and just ask for a specific item, particularly from restaurants. Can you donate, I think I've done like a quinoa salad something before. Can you donate that item? And then give them a date and a time. They'll pick it up. Next thing to do is start doing attendance recruitment. So scheduled posts on Twitter and Facebook. If you haven't heard of Hootsuite, you should check it out. It's awesome. You can schedule tweets, and they can go out at very specific times. Design and print flyers, people at the Student Center, phone bank friends. Start asking people to consider your event and come to it and how exciting it's going to be. Another thing you can do right now is confirm space and speakers. So if you need to reserve a space for, if you're having like a meal on campus, make sure you reserve the quad, for example, like at Duke in this photo. And reserve speakers if you want someone to come and speak about what's happening. Also, maybe start drafting a press release. It's always good to do this earlier on rather than later. And these are actually relatively formulaic. So there are tons of sample press releases online that you can check out and just kind of do it that way. So those are your next steps. We're going to jump into a Q&A session, and then directly after that, I will run through all the relevant links that I'd referenced in some way or Nicole has throughout this webinar. And so we have about maybe 15 minutes for this Q&A session. And Nicole will read out questions if you want to type them into the chat box. And also, if you actually do want to speak, she can unmute your microphone as well. So you can ask any one of us individually these questions, or just address it to us. Whoever can answer can do that. So again, we have Paige, who you heard, Nicole, who's the FOOD Day project coordinator, and then myself. So yeah, I think we have one already, if possible, maybe.
Yeah, I have a question that was typed in from Sophie Jones, and her question is, what is a good way to gather action, photos, and stories quickly? Okay, do you want to take that question? Yeah, thanks, Sophie. So I guess actually I might answer that question in a bit of a different way. I think actually what I think I'm understanding is to get many photos. I don't know if you want to maybe respond to Nicole if that's correct or not. But my response to that would be, I think ideally it's going to be kind of very kind of strategic photos, sort of. So as in these are the very specific places, in the very different places possibly where the food movement is. So thinking very creatively. If you check out the Real Food Movement is Here guide, the second page of the guide has the Real Food wheel, and kind of has examples from each part of the wheel about where the Real Food Movement is. Does that answer your question? I don't know if maybe we can coordinate a response here. Well, she also followed up and asked, is it better to get a few that really pack a punch? Yes, totally. Yes, it's better to get a few that pack a punch because we want to hear these very deep stories. Because last year there was this photo petition that we really pushed campuses to do, and I think those are cool just to see numbers, but also I think it's the focus of this photo action is to hear the stories, and that's kind of, so yeah, pack a punch, those photos, for sure. She said thank you. And also, I just want to add, keep it, embellish on your creativity. So definitely good to have pictures with people who are doing the action and working in the food movement. But I think it would be a nice dynamic to be mindful of going to different locations on your campus and thinking about it with people, but also in an artistic way. So it could add a lot of be a dynamic photo action. Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay, so if anybody has a question, hit the hand button on the dashboard or type in your question. Well, while we're waiting for other people to think of questions that they may have, you could take a moment, everybody that's on the call, I would recommend in the question box or in the chat box, go ahead and type your name and what school you're at and city and state and what you're planning to do already. That way we can give some people a few other ideas if they haven't started brainstorming yet. But while that's being collected, we have a question typed in, where do we submit photo action shots by Ali Spellman?
Yeah, so you can submit them. So basically, the big thing you have to include is that hashtag that's super long and also only contains stuff from this photo action so far. So the hashtag is the real food movement is here. It's very long, but it's only us. And you can submit that on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook if you make the post public. And also, if you want to use like a high-quality picture and or just want to submit it another way, you can also send it to my email. So that's foodday@realfoodchallenge.org. And I'm going to list that again at the end. So multiple different ways. You just have to tag it with a hashtag and add a quote or a story with the picture.
Great. Thanks, Kate. So we do have one participant that has written in. It's Jackie Telmanik. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the last name. From Kent State, and she's just getting ideas, and she's never coordinated a food day event before. So welcome, Jackie. We are really happy to have you on board this year.
Awesome. That's super cool.
And how about anybody else? Name and where? Okay, so we have Chelsea Freedy, who she says, I'm Chelsea and I attend Utah State University. She's working on getting the Real Food Challenge launched at her university. And we have had a food day for the past few years, and this year we are having a shipment of sustainable seafood coming from a small Oregon fishing organization, and chefs will be preparing the fish, and we will be showing a film. Great. Thanks, Chelsea. Couple more people. If we could hear from a couple more people, that would be great. All right, Kate, doesn't look like we have anybody else typing in. You can wrap it up.
Okay, great. Okay, as promised. Now is the relevant link. So this is kind of all the things that I or Nicole or Paige were mentioning before. So you can also submit your photo action photo to me, foodday@realfoodchallenge.org. Also, if you have any questions or want to brainstorm or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Kate. The second bullet here is where you can register your event. So foodday.org/host an event, or host_an event. And then the next link here is the shortened little bit.ly link to the Real Food Movement is Here guide. So I heard a few questions about specifics about how to enter this photo action and how to document your story. So go to that link, and there's a full 2-page guide about how to do it, how to enter, some ideas, how to think about it comprehensively, holistically, that type of thing. The fourth link is if you're kind of unsure but just kind of want to stay in the loop and want to hear about webinars like this and want to hear about what other schools are doing and planning in the process, then sign up to be a campus coordinator, and that's this fourth link here. and that you will get communication from me, and you can just kind of like keep your thoughts moving and how to participate in the weeks to come. And then lastly, I just wanted to list some Twitter handles. So Food Day 2013 is the official Food Day Twitter handle. And then @RealFoodNow is the Real Food Challenge Twitter handle. So you can follow both of us and stay in the loop. And Nicole says that we have one more person that wrote in. So I'm going to let her take it over.
Yeah, so Natalie Tran wrote in saying that she's at UC Santa Cruz, and she's also planning an entire food week. So that's really exciting. On Food Day, she says she's planning a local and organic food fair with live music and free real food. She's also hoping to do an intercampus Green Chef cooking challenge with nearby universities. So that's great too, connecting with other universities to combine events.
Yeah. Super cool. Great. So unless there are any last-minute questions or listings of what you're doing for Food Day, if you type those in now, we might be able to answer them or read them out. But otherwise, I want to
There's one more question.
Oh, one more. Woohoo!
It was Allie Spellman again. She says, did you say that there was a way to get a discount for hosting a film screening on campus? So I think that I can take this one. We are working on the guide from last year and just verifying which films will get the discounts again. And we'll be making that available to everyone on the resources page for Food Day. So if you go to foodday.org/resources, then you'll see the film guide on that page. And we'll be making that available very soon.
Cool. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I really hope this webinar had a few helpful points. And if you'd like to discuss more, again, feel free to reach out to me via my email, or I'm sure you could tweet at either of these two Twitter handles and someone would get back to you. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and we have 44 days till Food Day, so consider that, and have a great Monday.
Thanks, everyone.